All right. So for those of you that are interested, I went to Sweetwater. If you don't know what Sweetwater is, it's a big online. They have a huge online presence for professional audio equipment, along with instruments and all that kind of stuff. So so I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's where they are. And I was going to go to this thing here. Oh, where is it? Present. Here we go. Boom. I was going to this place. Boom. Look at this. Look at this. Studio B. Look at this.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do we got here? Some wides.
We've got this. They have a 9.1.4. Oh, oddly enough, this guy, he's really about his optimal or ideal setup is a 914, he says. 914 to mix on. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So not 6 high channels, but 9. Let's see.
I know that's what I said though. Techno Dad.
Yeah, I know that's what you said, ass.
You're
wrong. You're wrong. You're all wrong. You're all wrong.
Maybe I should make a 2-hour video about
it.
Yeah,
I know.
How wrong he is.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So here's a quick. I can't play any music, obviously, but there's a guy, Nick Reeves, Grammy nominated Atmos mixing engineer, has done a lot of spatial mixes for all the big. And then this guy here, he's the PMC representative. PMC are the speakers that were there, and he's like, hey, I'm not even going to talk about the speaker. I think the speakers are banging. I don't know how they measure, but damn, it was legit, like shaking the crap out of the room. Like 4 subwoofers, and each of those things had dual 8s, and then another dual, like 4 8s below it, and then the subwoofers were 4 8s. It was pretty wild. You know what? One of the funniest things that's one of these, some of these people are saying, they're like, well, how I said Atmos, if you make it look like the renderer, your Atmos setup, it's going to be in line and you'll have the same coverage, in that square shape. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, nobody puts any sound into the corners. Who puts sound into the corners? This guy puts it. Look how many sounds are in the corners. Look all over this place. Look at that. Yeah, no sound in the corners.
Who puts sound in the corners? Some of these guys have done some pretty legit stuff that you're telling me, right?
Yeah, no, he did some awesome stuff, and we listened to, like, these are the actual Atmos master files that he was playing from the previous mixes he's done. He's done a lot, all the Billie Eilish stuff, all the Phineas stuff. Here's a quick little look at that.
Very active.
So we got a little motion. Motion. Yeah. So they told me also not to like take so much video because
don't
so
take
I just
so much video.
Well, they had the tracks. He did a mix from start to finish, or from scratch, from an empty project. So that track was an unreleased track, so we can't have any content about that.
I got it.
I see Reverend Slim says those Billie Eilish mixes are amazing. The one he just showed from the Barbie movie, what I'm made of, or something like that. Oh, so good. He played that for us, and oddly enough, he did the Atmos mix for that, and then they gave it to the movie people, and they didn't want to put it in the movie as Atmos when they played her song, even though it's mixed in Atmos. Weird, huh?
Yeah. How didn't you say something about Bob Marley? I don't know.
Oh yeah. He did all Bob Marley's catalog, and dude, it was legit. And I got to ask a few very important questions, and I was asking stuff that all the other people had they weren't even talking about it. Or one of them was like, what to do with the LFE? How do you deal with the LFE?
Well, don't give out all your secrets.
I'm not saying beep.
Yeah.
Not saying. Okay, I had to pay through the nose to go to this thing.
Yeah.
And I also kind of was like, hey man, my wife's already pissed at me because it's my birthday. And they're like, oh, it's your birthday today? I was like, yeah, so one of the things, because he's like, what do you guys want to get out of this? And I was like, well, I would really love, because I brought some Atmos master files of mine. If you can play this, just give me a critique, because I would love to get feedback to make my Atmos mixes better and and learn, And he's like, oh, maybe if we have some time at the end. We didn't have any time at the end. But he's like, oh, dude, just email me. I'd love to hear it. I was like, oh, cool. So, oh yeah.
So, did you get a chance to talk to them about your spatial audio calibration toolkit
Yes.
at all?
And then at lunch,
did they find that useful at all, or
no? I mean, well, they wanted a little background on each of us, because everybody there was a mixing engineer that is getting into Atmos, and I saw some of the dudes like setups. Man, they're way better than mine. I mean, they spent a hell of a lot more money than I did. Yeah, so I kind of went into the little spiel, like, I'm not doing this, professionally to mix people's music. My colleague and I are creating a bunch of Atmos stuff. We actually created a spatial audio calibration toolkit in which, we made 160 Atmos files and developed them and put them on a Blu-ray disc and release them to our YouTube viewers and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm just kind of here to, pick up a few things and, learn some new shit. And then they're like, oh, okay. And I did find out, I asked them, I'm like, hey, do you ever listen to your mix on a consumer level product? And he said, oh yeah, I have a 712 configuration at home in my living room. And he's like, yeah, I run a Denon receiver and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll listen to that on my own system. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So hey, dude knows what he's doing. So I got some of his tricks I'm gonna put in some mixes. And yeah, I
thought you said, Channa, that these guys don't have a consumer level system.
Some don't.
I know.
Most of the guys in the crowd don't.
I'm just saying. Some people do.
Some people do. I mean, this guy definitely knows what he's doing, right? Okay. Right. And yeah, his approach.
How many took this class?
Huh?
How many people took this class?
Like 12.
Oh.
Very small,
actually.
Yeah, very small. Yeah, so I got to ask questions, and like he was just looking right at me. He was just answering my questions, and I realized I had to get in there because this one dude over here just was like, oh, I was like, he's all name dropping about these mixers and like, oh, I was like, oh man, I need to get in there and ask some questions other than make sure this trip was definitely worth it.
Yeah, of course.
Because Joe's like, oh man, just come out to the thing. I'm like, let me do this first.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely worth it. 100% worth it. And I'll make a video. And then Sweetwater people are like, hey, are you going to be around for another day or two? Maybe we can shoot some content. Dude, their studios are fucking crazy. Like they just have studios and people can come rent the studio and record. So they have some big names coming through there this week that are just using the studio. Some people just use the studio and they bring in their own engineer, and they're just Sweetwater's just providing the studio space, right?
I mean, you can afford to do all that stuff when people are coming in and using it. When it's just for you, it's kind of like, well, I'll make it good for me. But if it's for other people, it's a business, right? You get to
totally
money, reinvest.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And
splurge.
Even this guy Nick was like, when he has like when they have all the resources to do all that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool. They also had a Studio C, which is another Atmos mixing Focal setup, which was also really nice. And then look at this, the subwoofers are so huge.
What?
I looked behind there and was like, oh crap.
I'm trying to figure out what their setup is though right there.
This is another 914. This is another 914.
Those are wide.
So these two are just for stereo mixing because they also want it to be,
Hold on, what angles are those though?
I don't know.
Hold on a second.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to look at what angles they are. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look, even the guy, the PMC guy was like, there is no hard and fast rule. There's no certification for any of these rooms. There's just best practices from Dolby. And then that's it.
Well, this is interesting though, because if you look at it, they have the center, and then the two look like they might be about 30 degrees, or maybe 22.5, the ones that they use for stereo. But it looks like the ones to the left and right of those are, I don't know, They're a little bit wider. I don't know the exact angle
these look like
where they sit, but it's just interesting. And a lot of them seem to be using the front wides.
Yeah. There a lot of them are using front wides. Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm kind of curious about how those sound.
Yeah. I told them, I was like, hey, if you guys want, we'll do a couple of days. I'll come back and actually film them. And he's like, I was in the focal room. They had different speakers as their left and right. And he's like, no photos here because these speakers aren't released yet.
Make sure to join us every Monday for our live stream at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Daily HiFi.